Welcome to our channel. Lots of summaries of interesting films. Keep it updated. Press subscribe and turn on notifications. To support us, you can like and share our videos.
Jiminy Cricket provides the opening narration as the movie starts. He begins as a lonesome, homeless cricket wandering the streets in search of a place to dwell. Jiminy stumbles onto the house of Geppetto, a widowed woodcarver who resides with his cat Figaro and goldfish Cleo. Geppetto is currently working on a miniature wooden puppet modeled after his late kid. Then, a man visits Geppetto's business with the intention of purchasing one of his cuckoo clocks, but Geppetto holds it in high regard and declines to part with it. He names the puppet Pinocchio as he completes it. Geppetto puts a wish on a star as he gets ready for bed. A short while later, Pinocchio comes to life as a flash of blue light strikes the photo of Geppetto's son and bounces inside the puppet. When Jiminy attempts to speak to Pinocchio after being startled by him, he just repeats what Jiminy says. After then, the blue fairy comes inside and uses her power to free Pinocchio from his chains and give him a clearer speech. She advises Pinocchio to be brave, honest, and selfless in order to be a true boy for his father. In addition, the fairy adjusts Jiminy's attire and names him Pinocchio's conscience. When Geppetto awakens, he is shocked but overjoyed to discover that Pinocchio is still alive. He sends him off to school with the other kids because he wants him to have a typical childhood. Jiminy pursues and encounters Sophia, a seagull that Geppetto is friendly with. In order to find Pinocchio, she flies Jiminy. Meanwhile, Pinocchio is spotted by two swindlers, Honest John and Gideon, who intend to use him as a draw for the puppeteer Stromboli. They approach the wooden boy and make an effort to win him over. Before Jiminy catches up with them and tells him to follow Geppetto's instructions if he wants to be a real boy, Pinocchio almost follows them. When Pinocchio politely declines their offer and makes a sincere effort to enroll in school, the heartless headmaster expels him on the grounds that classes are only for actual children. Jiminy gets captured by trustworthy John and Gideon in a jar, and they take Pinocchio with them. Pinocchio joins Stromboli's production and prepares for his debut in front of a large audience. He meets Fabiana, a young woman who was a dancer before a leg accident put a stop to her career. She now performs with Sabina, a puppet ballerina. When Pinocchio goes to perform, he stumbles and gets his nose stuck in a floorboard until Sabina comes to his aid. Other puppets join him in the performance, and the audience adores him. To keep Pinocchio from fleeing, Stromboli, who is violent, places him inside a cage. Geppetto worries when Pinocchio doesn't come back to his house. He walks by the school to look for him with Figaro and Cleo but is unsuccessful in doing so. He also ignores Jiminy's attempts to grab his attention. Later, Jiminy is jarred off by Stromboli's stagecoach, which allows him to board it and locate Pinocchio. When Jiminy comes across him, the puppet acts as though he didn't like the fame or even want it, which makes his nose enlarge. This gives Pinocchio the notion to tell a faucet so that his nose will lengthen and enable Jiminy to grasp the cage's keys and release him. When Pinocchio and Jiminy leave, they pass another stagecoach carrying a number of little boys and girls. Pinocchio accepts the coachman's invitation to join and makes friends with Lampwick, a troubled youngster. The coachman feels agitated when Pinocchio exhibits mistrust for him and sings his spiel to the puppet to persuade him to go with them. The kids are then driven to Pleasure Island by the coachman. Geppetto is discovered by Sophia back at his house, and she offers him a brochure for Pleasure Island to let him know where Pinocchio is going. The coachman is attempting to convince the children that Pleasure Island is a theme park with everything they could ever want. Pinocchio finds it amusing at first, but he soon starts to worry about how the kids act. When Jiminy tries to get back to Pinocchio, he finds a salt mine where children are being changed into donkeys and used as slaves by enigmatic black mist beings. As they play pool, Pinocchio joins Lampwick, but Lampwick also turns into a donkey. Prior to Jiminy's assistance in getting him out, Pinocchio develops ears and a tail. The coachman and the vapor monsters chase after them, but Pinocchio and Jiminy make it to the water. The following day, Pinocchio is discovered by Fabiana and Sabina, who tell him that since Stromboli was detained, they are now taking their own puppet performance on the road. They invite Pinocchio to join them, but he declines since he must return to Geppetto, and as a result, his ears and tail vanish. Before Jiminy and he are discovered by Sophia, who claims Geppetto has gone sailing out to sea in search of Pinocchio, he bids farewell to Fabiana and Sabina. He takes hold of a rope and pulls it with Sophia's assistance so Pinocchio may run across the lake. In addition to Figaro and Cleo, Pinocchio and Jiminy are able to track down Geppetto, meet up with him, and inform him of his trip. The frightening sea monster Monstro soon suffocates the household. In order to get them out, Pinocchio has the brilliant idea to start a fire within Monstro's mouth, which will make the monster spew them out. Although it works, Monstro notices them and pursues them. Monstro crashes into a cave as Pinocchio rides the wreckage of the boat there using his legs as propellers. When they return to land, Geppetto is not awake. When Pinocchio weeps in sorrow over his father, Geppetto is awakened by his tear. Pinocchio has more than demonstrated his ability to be a real boy, Geppetto informs him. Pinocchio seems to be changing into a person as they begin to trek home. Jiminy says at the end of the story that there are numerous stories about whether or not Pinocchio actually grew up to be a boy, and while he won't say whether they are true, he does know in his heart that Pinocchio is as courageous, honest, and unselfish as he set out to be.